Pete came to our adult transition program from another state. The documentation that accompanied Pete discussed his former school's attempts to get Pete to use a voice output device, but these attempts did not seem to meet with much success. While at our adult transition program, Pete attended a daily morning communication group where he interacted with his peers using an augmentative communication device that allowed him to make choices using a large red switch. The switch activated the device. Pete could control the spastic movements in his left arm to the extent that he could focus on the button and move his hand to hit the button. By the third and final year of Pete's free appropriate public education in our program, his multidisciplinary team had designed protocols that addressed his functional needs. Our physical therapist had designed Pete's wheelchair and supports. Our speech-language pathologist had designed more communication boards. Our occupational therapist designed all the splints and adaptive approaches for Pete to use his switches. We all knew that Pete would be leaving us soon. He had started using his switch to activate a paper shredder. Pete seemed to possess the skills that he would need in order to be successful in either of the two day programs available to him after graduation. Pete's multidisciplinary team discussed whether or not it would be possible to use a web-based technology and something so simple as a slightly obsolete laptop computer and an obsolete website publishing program to create a communication system for Pete. Over the next 3 months, the team worked on the Pete device. The physical therapist designed a custom positioning chair that addressed Pete's spastic movements and pelvic thrusts. The speech-language pathologist worked with me to develop an expressive system that would address Pete's own known needs. The occupational therapist experimented with various switch positions, splints, and safety restraints. The first result was a system that used a head mouse pointer, whereby small reflective targets the size of a paper punch hole were placed on Pete's nose. The head mouse shot a beam that reflected off the target and allowed Pete to use his head movements to move a cursor around the screen on the laptop. The head mouse, however, required a double click from Pete in order for Pete to make a selection on the screen. Pete had a hard enough time concentrating his attention on the cursor. He could not control his head well enough to effect the needed double click. The head mouse did have a switch connection. We agreed that the switch could be used by Pete to select an item on the laptop screen. Items could even consist of icons that had words and phrases pronounced as sound files when Pete selected the icons with the switch. Pete unfortunately could not activate the switch with his left hand without turning to look at his left hand. This disconnected the infrared beam, and Pete could not control the cursor.
Hit that button.
I think if we had some way to keep his arm, because it's so stiff, like see if you just let go, it goes like that. You have it up here by the button somehow to where he can, you know, use his finger or whatever to respond when he's looking at the screen. Just see his finger, okay, his hand. You know,
all right, he's gonna have to use his hand. So
it.
what do we need? Do we need another strap that holds it in place on the other side?
Something like this, where he can look up there now and use the button. And it's just so stiff that with him, that's the only way that he tends to want to do things, especially when you notice he's trying so hard to get out to it.
Right. All right, let's go back to the drawing board. Or was that Brian?
No, it was him. I'm just trying to get his situation.
All right.
He's pushing up here. Look up there. There. See, he puts so much pressure. I mean, he's smashing my fingers into this thing here.
Okay. So positioning of the button is very important, right?
Yeah. What do you think, Deb?
All right, hang on. I'm going to go around and take it from your point of view, okay?
Okay, what I was watching and noticing, he's with it right there. He's using these independently to push more than a stick hand.
So you can extend his armrest out more.
So the problem is with positioning of the armrest.
Yeah.
If the armrest is in more.
Or out.
It needs to be longer
Yeah, longer.
to support.
Okay, so he can reach it and do it out there, all right? I want you to show us this, okay? Hit that button with your... Fantastic. All right, so now we're lining up your nose with your chin.
Night, the instructional assistant who worked the most with Pete had a dream. In it, she saw Pete using his chin to operate the switch while maintaining the connection with the infrared beam. The team experimented with several switches and chest pads to hold the switch under Pete's chin. Finally, the adjustments to the equipment were in place, and we put the switch under Pete's chin. Just as the IA had dreamed, Pete successfully used his chin to operate the switch while controlling the cursor on the laptop. Suddenly, it seemed, the world had become Pete's oyster.